And then, we are officially live, I think.
All right.
I'm just checking out everything looks good on the screen, and it's all good, and people can hear us, hopefully. We've had so many challenges. It's ridiculous.
Wasn't this the kind of thing that was promised years ago, that when we got to the 2000s that everything would just be smooth?
Exactly.
We'd be flying in cars and stuff. I'm still waiting for all that good stuff.
I am too. Okay, I'm double checking the Ustream channel to see if it works. Seems to be, and I go check. Yep. Always every time at the beginning of the podcast, like me checking out and then posting it on Facebook and double checking everything. All right, people, welcome. I'm talking English because I have Michael here. He talks Danish, but we don't communicate very good in Danish because
it'd be like the worst married couple ever.
It will. So we're gonna do it in English, and welcome to the, I think it's the 21st or 22nd Hakeslepp. I actually don't know. I should know though.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been any podcast now for probably almost 2 months. I've been having vacation and I've been focusing on the stuff. But now that you're here, I definitely had to set up the studio again, or the home studio again,
yeah.
and make a podcast. So welcome everybody. For those of you tuning in for the first time, Hakeslepp podcast is a place where we are just sitting down, chilling and talking about life, and I bring in people who are living with a beer or two sometimes.
Not open yet.
And bringing in people who are inspiring me, and also people are living outside of the norm, living outside of the box, so to say.
Yeah, I don't even know where the box is anymore, so
it's perfect. For a long time I've been wanting to have you here, and Knut is out moving. He should have been here, but he probably will pop by, or if not, that's also okay.
Ironically, he's actually moving boxes right now.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so that's the Hakeslepp podcast, and please welcome Mr. Michael Lassen.
Yeah, and hopefully people will share this either live or afterwards and ask questions.
Yeah,
if they like.
That's also oppfordre, what's that in English? We encourage people to...
Or even just write topic suggestions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but the more interactive this can be, the better, because... now...
And if someone writes cure for hangover, well, we know what's going on. We might just ignore it.
We were at the book launch for Torkel's new book yesterday, and that was cool. There was a lot of people there, and it's so inspiring that TJ's got his book out now, and it makes such more real... it's more real for us being around him. All right, it's time for us to step up, and because writing a book, he says it's a huge deal. It doesn't have to be, but he used like a year to write it. Or
I think that's the same with a lot of other stuff. Is that most people's perception of writing a book is that, first of all, shit, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's going to be a hell of a tough job, and they sort of see in their timeline that it's way ahead. So there's all kinds of very, very good reasons and very, very good excuses, etc., for not getting started or finishing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually a very interesting example of something that for a lot of people is a big dream, and people never get around to it.
Yeah. Because to me, the thought of writing a book is a huge, like a huge mountain I have to climb, instead of taking one step at a time.
Yeah, and actually the way that you're gesturing shows that you actually still sees it as a huge mountain looking up and doing like that. So that's probably something we should take and work on.
Definitely.
Because then it will keep that way until you both sort of mentally adjust, but also on the internal side, the unconscious part that matches it to, or what's in NLP is called the submodalities would be the same.
The what?
Submodalities, which is how you internally represent things.
Oh yeah.
Which is one of the things I look for a lot when I Well, I try to sort of shut it off when I talk normally with people, but definitely when I have sessions with people, when I talk with clients, I notice all their small micro movements, where they look, and all the gestures, because people give so much of that away, which people probably can go back and notice with you.
When I talked about the mountain, yeah. Well, all right. We're having these conversations all the time, but most people probably know who you are already, who are following me or my Facebook or blog or whatever, but some people don't. So why don't you introduce yourself to the guys?
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm Michael Lassen, and I am 38 years old. I've been doing this for about 16, 17 years since I started getting interested in personal. Well, are you not even gonna say cheers?
Cheers! I'm just listening. I was like, time for me to drink.
Yeah, cheers everybody. Okay, so I started back when I was, I think it was around 19 years old, when I saw Anthony Robbins on TV for the first time.
Yeah.
And I had been interested in personal development and psychology previously, but that has sort of been what I now would call the kiddie stuff.
Okay.
the really old-fashioned stuff.
Yeah.
Where results are far in between, or even sort of frowned upon.
Results are frowned upon.
So yeah, I got started back then, and I really. In a way, on an unconscious level, I think back then I made the decision that this was something that I wanted to spend the rest of my life on.
Yeah.
Both improving myself, develop myself in all kinds of different ways, and basically get the most out of life. And then I found out pretty quickly that I'm not sure I would say a gift, but I had a talent for helping other people.
Yeah.
And I was passionate about it, and I discovered that down the line that I could make good money doing it. So I haven't looked back ever since. So
you took the decision when you were 20 years old. Like,
I think early 20s, as I started, because I basically, the interesting thing is that very early on, I sort of accidentally started using what we've talked a lot about, the speed of implementation.
Okay.
Is from when I saw Anthony Robbins on the TV show. I think it was a normal weekday afternoon. I just woke up and was flipping the channels around, and I saw him, and he talked about phobias.
Yeah.
And I had a phobia back then, so I got interested. So I took my bike and went into the city, got his book, went back, started reading it, and I got to an exercise that talked about that could work with a phobia, and then I did the exercise, did some type of visualization, and all of a sudden I could think about needles without going into
Really?
Yeah.
That easy.
And then I asked my mom, who'd been working with psychology and for about 20-something years at that time. I said, so do you know phobias? How do you treat them, and how long does it take? And she said, well, she was pretty sure that it would be something 3 to 6 months, slowly exposure. And I went, wait a minute. I just got rid of mine in a couple of minutes. What's going on here? So something hit me there, that this is something that's powerful. And then the next day I went in and bought the second book, and then I haven't looked back ever since.
That's cool, because like you just said now, then you bought the second book, right away.
Yeah, the next day. I finished the first one, and by the time I finished it, the stores were closed. So
nice. But I've always seen that at home you have this huge shelf of books, and I know that just while you've been here, I know that you have studied and also bought some programs while you were here, and I was like, and I know that you are in the top masterminds in the world, and you always invest in your own studying, like your own development.
Oh yeah.
Did you do that from the beginning?
Yeah, I did. 'Cause I pretty early on, I think it was under a year after I learned about NLP, I took all of Richard Bandler, who is the founder of NLP. I took all of his trainings within a 1 year time period, which was a lot of money, and I was out. I have to this day, I have no idea how on earth. Or can I say fuck?
Yes, you can.
Okay, how the fuck I managed to convince my bank supervisor of getting a loan to do all these
You loaned, yeah.
Oh yeah. At the time, I didn't have much money. That it would have been absolutely. I mean, well, I suppose I could have found a way somehow. Taking 10 paper routes each day or whatever.
But was it like to you? Was it like, okay, this is, you just made a decision, like this is something I'm going to do. No matter what, I'm going all in, or was it a slow process?
It was definitely not slow. It
was boom.
Yeah, it was intuitive at the time. It was first many years later that I realized what I had done back then, which was to make the decision that fuck it, I want to be one of the best at this, and I want to dedicate my life to it. In a sense, it was sort of like coming home. That I really felt that this was what I'm supposed to do. It felt right. It felt natural.
Yeah.
Not all parts of it, because certainly there was things where I had to train, and in the beginning I went, fuck, I'm never gonna learn this. And I made the mistake of comparing myself to Bandler himself, which is like really stupid, because he's like invented it and has spent 30 years of his life doing it. So comparing myself to him was like a seriously bad thing to do.
Like you comparing yourself with him, or you telling other people?
No, comparing my skills. Getting starting to practice.
So you felt.
So when you see someone who's exceptionally good at something, and then you see your result, even how talented you are in the beginning, there's going to be a huge gap. And it's something I'm extremely big on. When I train people, whether it's in seminars or the people in my coaching group, I say, compare yourself to where you were a week ago, 6 months ago. Don't compare yourself to me or anyone else in the beginning, because you simply don't have it makes no sense whatsoever.
Exactly.
So and that was interesting, is that I discovered later that on an unconscious level I made that decision, and because of making that decision, I just did what I needed to do in order to take those trainings and practice and connect with the right people.
Did you know the steps to take, or did you just
no
of course not all the steps till now, but did you just like grab all the opportunities? Like going, because to me it felt like this when I started my career, is that I also had the same feeling, like, dude, like this resonated to me. This is something I want to do. This is sort of like following your heart kind of thing. And then I started like, okay, I wanted to grab every opportunity to somehow get to the next level within this. So I grabbed every opportunity, and it was very broad, not very narrow. Didn't find my own thing until a couple of years later.
Okay, well, I think there's two different aspects to that. First of all, I didn't grab every opportunity, because what I also decided is that I wanted to learn either from the sort of source itself, the best people, or wanting to learn from people who took the best from all the different kinds of fields and the different kinds of authorities out there.
Okay.
So that was the first thing. The second thing is that it was first many years later I sort of start getting an idea of where ultimately I wanted to go in terms of, well, what type of people, what type of niche. And as I found out that I had a knack for discovering new things myself. So it took several years before I sort of found some of the niches I work with now. That wasn't clear in the beginning.
Cool.
In the beginning it was more like a direction that I felt, okay, this is the right direction I'm in. And that's one of the things I think in goal setting. On the one hand, it can be really powerful having one big vision or one big goal, and sometimes it can be equally as powerful having the right direction to go in, and simply focus on the direction, focusing on the improvement, on being on the right path, not necessarily knowing where the path is specifically ends up. So I mean, and that's just one of those things that some people say, well, why can't we just get one answer? And I'm like, well, no one says life was supposed to be that easy.
It's true. When did you figure out? Because we just call you the idea machine, and we basically sometimes fly you over just to get ideas from you.
Yeah.
When did you figure out? You just said that you figure out how to develop stuff yourself and get new ideas and discover new stuff yourself. Was that a thing, like a gift you had all the time, or how do you come up with good ideas? That's basically what I'm asking.
That's a good question. Well, the first part of the answer is that I think it took a couple of years before I realized that I had a sort of knack for coming up with stuff myself.
Yeah.
But I think it was also as a result of making the decision that I wanted to be one of the best in the world, and then realizing that it's sort of like in the beginning when, you know, I'm a huge fan of the Rolling Stones, and when they started out, they were doing cover songs of all the old R&B and blues artists from America. And then after they released, I think it was 2 or 3 albums back then, they sort of realized that, well, you know, you can only do this for so long. If you want to be the best and continue, you sort of have to come up with your own songs.
Innovate, like.
Yeah. And then, you know, their manager locked them up in the kitchen and said, I'm not going to let you out until you have a song. And they're like, oh fuck, he's serious. We better write a song. So I think it was
that's a great technique, by the way.
Yeah, it's maybe slightly controversial.
No, but still, I mean,
it can
nothing
work.
happens until, you know, you decide and have like a. Then they had to make a song.
Yeah, and that was the same thing for me. Because I made that decision, I realized that, okay, so I have to come up with my own stuff. I can't and I won't just be Anthony Robbins light or Richard Bandler light. You know, I wanted to do my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I discovered that that's one of my high criteria, is that I want to, you know, evolve. I want to develop new stuff. And I love it. Yeah. So it was some years after.
It's so cool. Every story, every time I hear is like, and then blah blah, and then, or I hear testimonials as well of guys like, well, the one guy you helped start stopping smoking, or was it snoozing, in 7 minutes or something?
Oh yeah, that was at one of the.
And then and the next one was 2 minutes, and it was it was 3 minutes, and then it was 2 minutes.
Yeah,
always improving. You know how fast you can change.
Well, yeah, actually, because I had been saying for a couple of years that guy at the first Congruent Man seminar that you helped set up like 2.5 years ago. That there was a guy I had a one-on-one session with, and during the end of it, he realized that the most important thing he wanted to work on was his spider phobia, and we only had a couple of minutes left until the next one came in the door, and I went, just okay, fuck it, if we have to do it in 2-3 minutes, how would I? And we just did it, and I remembered it as being 2 minutes, and then I found the videotape just before I left, and I was actually timing it, and it was 3 minutes. So nice. You know, I've been lying for 2 years. And that's what fascinates me, that change can happen so fast sometimes. Yeah. It's not that it always has to, and it's not that it always that it's the best thing, because there can certainly be you know, power in not everything happening at once. Okay. And there are some discovery processes and things to learn, you know, building something step by step. So, but it's nice that you have the opportunity sometimes for things to change really, really fast. Yeah, and especially if it's something huge and something that's been bothering people for a long, long time. Yeah,
that was a breakthrough for me. It was just the couple of first time when I had huge breakthroughs and changing something quick with you. Then it was an important, just a realization that, okay, you actually can create lasting change really, really fast. Yeah. Not that, just like you said, but the realization is also important.
Oh yeah, that it is possible, because if you don't have that filter, if you don't have that belief that fast change is possible, then it's just never going to happen to you. Exactly. Because you will be blind to the spots where it would be possible. Yeah.
A lot of people just think that, okay, it has to, time heals all wounds, you know what I mean? And
bullshit.
Yeah, and then it just has to take time for some reason. That's a given for a lot of people. Yeah, that's a belief they have.
There's so many things you could compare that thing to. You know, that time will heal all wounds. I'll meet the right woman at the right time eventually.
Yeah, if I just sit here. Exactly. That's so true. Cool. And then okay, fast forward that's 18 years then.
Yeah. Wow, time flies.
Yeah, and then you have oppsøkt, like found the best, because you've been to America how many times?
I think it was 30 the last time, in April.
30 times, just to surround yourself with the best or learn from the best?
Twice it was vacation.
Okay.
Oh, actually, the first one was a competition I won.
What's that?
Well, it's actually a funny story, because I was 17 years old at the time, and like I said, I've been a big fan of the Rolling Stone, and sort of the city I associate the Rolling Stones to is New York, and I've always had this sort of strong fascination of New York ever since I was a kid and discovered it.
Okay.
And I had posters of New York on my walls, and then one afternoon I had been sleeping and woke up, which is also how I found Tony Robbins. And then for one reason or another, and I to this day I have no idea why, is I turned on a radio station that I hadn't listened to for several years.
Yeah.
And they had a competition where you could win a trip to New York. And what you had to do is that you have to have sort of a youth magazine in front of you. So you had to be able to say at which part of the magazine a certain article was.
Okay.
So they made sure that you actually had the magazine.
Oh,
and then the weirdest thing happened is that and when I think back of it, it was sort of almost like an out of body experience, that I just saw myself putting on shoes, checking that I had money in my pocket, and I literally went out the door and ran down the street. And I remember running down the street thinking, what am I doing? And then I bought the magazine, I went back, and I got in as the next to last caller. They had 10 callers getting through, and I was number 9. So, and I got the correct answer. And then they had to call up 2 who won, and I was one of them. So then I got to New York at just turned 17. And that experience really changed my life, because it was just such an amazing experience. And we met some amazing people over there, and
really
and saw everything. So it was, and it's something when I look back at it's almost like scary of how my life would be if that had happened.
Really?
And especially because that literally I felt like this is not me doing it. It was almost like an out of body experience.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know, probably some of the people watching or listening have had experiences where it's almost like you're a little bit scared of thinking, well, what if that thing hasn't happened? You know, how would my life be today?
Yeah.
And at the same thing, you know, if I hadn't taken my bike and went in and bought the Tony Robbins book right away, I'm not sure that I would, you know, and that's one of the reasons why speed of implementation is so freaking important to internalize as much as possible. It's not something you can do all the time, you know, that's a lot of people misunderstand that, and some people have said, well, Michael, you certainly didn't use speed of implementation there, and I said, well, no one's perfect, and if you're gunning for being perfect, well, good luck to you.
But also, I mean, speed of implementation for me, the most important aspect about it is that when there's something I have taken a decision on, or if there's something that I know resonates to me, and there's something that I know is good towards my vision, or towards helping people, you know, towards my vision, then that's where I have to use speed of implementation. Not like, okay, I have to get another beer now, you know. I would be successful in getting that beer,
well,
but
actually,
cheers.
I'm not so sure, but okay.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's the things that resonates, and that is important. That really is important to use the speed of implementation.
Yeah, and also what I was talking about before is that I think that the things that we end up really regretting in our lives, you know, are the times where we didn't use speed of implementation. You know, and that's why for me it's still a little bit scary thinking about, well, you know, what if I hadn't done it then? And I also use that as motivation for keep using speed of implementation, because I don't want to be in a situation where I risk missing out on something big because of it.
Can you just explain speed of implementation
Well,
for
yeah,
someone who
yeah,
hasn't?
good idea. Yeah, speed of implementation is very simply means that you shorten the amount of time between having an idea and taking the first action step towards it, or the time between making a decision and taking the first action step.
And why is
toward
it so important?
Well, there's so many reasons. This being one of them. The other thing is that, well, first of all, it's been discovered that that's the thing that most successful people have in common beyond anything else. You know, more than confidence,
Yeah.
more than having a big vision, more than having a well-defined goal or outcome, etc., etc. And it is like that because it's almost in our human nature to procrastinate and to push things aside and go, you know. And there's so many reasons for that. You know, one of them is that there's so many things going on that it's so easy to be overwhelmed and, and go,
so
I better wait, etc.
Get paralyzed almost.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. So the fact when you use speed of implementation, you get things done.
Yeah.
and also is that oftentimes is that the knowledge that you can get, the feedback that you get from the real world by taking action will oftentimes be much more important than what you could have prepared yourself to or read in books, etc.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, part of some of the new stuff that I'm doing, which we can talk about later. The importance of integrating the things that you can learn from your experiences, whether it's good experiences or really bad experiences. So that's sort of what I've come up with, or at least talk about a lot. I haven't seen anyone talk about it before. Is the other side of speed of implementation, which is speed of integration. That you take a short time frame as possible between having an experience or taking an action step and then integrating what you could learn from that, whether it's something that went really, really well or something that went really, really bad, because there's something you can learn from both type of experiences,
because then you grow faster.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Yeah, and that's, you know, we only have so much time.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that we cannot get back, is time. You know, time wasted is just time wasted.
Yeah, I know.
And
also energy, you know, or energy, like resources. If you when you use the speed of integration, then you use a short amount of time as possible, dragging your resources down. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If it was a failure, or quote unquote failure, if it was a bad result.
Yeah.
So yeah, keeping also the resources at the top is also a huge criteria for me.
Yeah,
like,
and again, you know, time is even more important, because resources you can usually get them back, or you can get better. For example, you know, you can go absolutely broke, and well, you can get your money back.
Yeah.
But if you waste the time, you know, well, at least we haven't discovered it yet, as far as I know. Yeah.
The cool thing I hear, and which also I hear from a lot of the guests here, is that, well, you're a crowd that inspires me, and the thing is that I see, that all of you have, is like it's almost like a natural. It's like you give yourself over to your natural destiny kind of way. It's like, okay, this, I want to do this. It's probably scary, and it scares the hell out of me.
It better be at some point, because otherwise it's not the right thing.
Exactly,
and part of growing is
and it's huge, and it's totally out of my comfort zone, and you know, just thinking about it makes me scared. But I see that everyone that I've talked to here, almost everyone, has it like a natural. It's like a given that they are pursuing it. Even though, okay, taking a loan when you're 17 years, when you took the loan, 20 years old, to go and learn, take courses, you know, for some people that's crazy. Yeah. But for successful people, that's the most natural thing in the world, or it feels like that's what. And
one of the things that I don't. At least in the beginning, I didn't think about it as clearly as I do now. But what happened back then is that intuitively, at least in the beginning, I figured that the best way I could invest my money was in me and in my skills and in my knowledge, because that could never be taken away from me. And a lot of people have sort of shaken their head about how much money I've spent on my education and my growth and development. And you know, it was so funny that in 2008, when the economic crisis really started to rock the world, is that I sort of had the last laugh there and say, well, if I had invested all my money in a big house and a car, you know, or in stocks, I would have lost. I know people who've lost. I don't know of anyone who lost all their fortune, but I've known people who got it reduced by 75% overnight. And
oh my god!
So I'm very happy that I decided to invest my money in myself and in my education, because
then
I have control over that.
Yeah,
I have no control if Wall Street crashes tomorrow.
Exactly. And there's a false security though. People think they have control over the, like, I see a lot of people. Well, the safest thing is to put your money in the bank. I don't necessarily agree at all, because
certainly depends on which bank.
yeah, but I mean, look at how many. Look, if you did it, people in Iceland probably thought that as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
People in Zimbabwe,
yeah.
people in, you know, it's not necessarily safe at all. It's not necessarily secure at all. But investing in yourself and your own resources and your own knowledge and skills, it's always safe. I mean, unless you hit your head so hard that, you know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with job security.
Yeah.
Job what? Job what? What the fuck are you talking about? There's no such thing as job security, but that's a thing you hear a lot, and that's a question or a conversation I often have with students and people I meet, is that especially the younger parts, that they have this thing from their parents, from society, that, oh, you're supposed to have an education so you can get a job, so you have security. And it's like, there's no security in a job, because you have no control over what the CEO does, whether he wants to sell the company or in order to cash out, or, you know, he makes bad marketing decisions or no marketing decisions. And even the changing worlds these days, I mean, for all we know, everything could be completely different 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now. Everything can be completely different. Look at it, like, it used to be that Sony, when they ruled when they were the bosses, they had the Walkman, you know, and then they came with mini disc, and they was in the front of innovation within that industry, and they had to renew their products every 5 years or something, 4 years or something. Now Apple has to renew their products, or HTC or whatever has to renew their products every 6 months, or they're not keeping up. The world is changing so fast that it's like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. You can't like, a 5-year business plan is ridiculous now. Nobody, I mean, you can't predict it. It goes so. No, I mean, it can help having a plan, but you have to realize that, just like in war, it helps to have a battle plan. But when the first shot is fired, you know.
But that's what I mean when it comes to, like, a job security. There's no, I mean, taking an education is no definite secure way of getting a good job, if you know what I mean. That you will have a secure income for 60 years. It's not like that anymore.
No, it's the thing I say, it's in most of my seminars or speeches or what have you, is that you have a choice to make, and it's a very fundamental choice. Do you wanna choose the illusion of security, or do you want to embrace the power of uncertainty? Because you have to pick between either of them, and most people, they pick the illusion of security, and those are the ones you see really. Because the thing is that
that's
you know, a good example is Donald Trump, who lost all his money in the 90s, and he just got it back. I think it was 2.5 years later he got all of it back, and then started building again. So first of all, you know, people would have said, "Oh, that's horrible. He lost $2 billion." But no, what would have been horrible is if he'd had a steady job that he had grew accustomed to and has sort of built his comfort zone around, and he got fired. Because he might not have gotten back from that. But you know, if someone that can get back after losing $2 billion in 2 years, I mean, there's some leeway for the rest of us.
Exactly. You know, what's the chances of someone? What's the chance of someone becoming a billionaire, and then the chance of someone becoming a billionaire twice? You know.
Yeah.
But
it's very, very high, because it's a mindset.
Exactly. If he has it,
it's the internal feeling of what's natural.
Yeah.
Which is something I work a lot with clients and myself too. Is raising the bar for that natural feeling of what you deserve. And simply what's natural for you, and you can use that. You know, I use that when I work with business people, when I work with poker players, when I work with men who wants to have, you know, better and more relationships. Is that everybody has this natural, almost like thermostat of how successful they will allow themselves to become.
Huh.
You know, and that's
Really?
why that first of all, it's why that I think it's 80-something% of people who win the lottery, they're worse off some years after. And it's even more with NFL players in the US. I think it's 90% of those.
yeah, I've heard.
Yeah,
Because
of the ones who grow up under poor conditions.
And then when they're done with playing, they lose their money.
Yeah, they find a way to lose it.
Of course,
even Oprah Winfrey did a show where she found someone, a homeless guy, and gave him I don't remember how much money, but it was a lot. And then they followed him, and he managed to lose everything. I think it was within 6 to 9 months.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's Oprah did a show like that.
Really?
Some years ago, I would think it was 3-4 years ago.
Wow.
Tons and tons of examples.
Even though
like
he
that.
knew that
yeah, because he even had the accountability of a camera crew in the, you know.
Why she did it to help him, or she did it to test out?
She wanted to help him, and she realized
yeah.
that she really didn't. So,
wow.
Because then what happened is that he got the money, he got a taste of the life that he was dreaming about, and then he blew it all. So he's worse off now, because he's like, okay, that was his one chance and I blew it. So, okay, now I'm just gonna accept my, you know,
destiny.
This is my fate, my destiny. Yeah. Which is something
that's
that
horrible.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I really dislike the people who are in this business and who doesn't monitor the results, let alone don't care about the results. Monitor the results that their clients get.
Yeah.
Because first of all, the results are in general in the personal development fields are just horrible.
Yeah.
The statistics says that it's between 3 and 4% who uses what they learned 3 weeks later after they learn something, which is, you know, completely unheard of. No other business could live with that.
Yeah,
except for the Weather Channel.
Yeah.
The Weather Channel get by every day with with those kind of percentages.
No, but that's exactly why we have the passion immersion and always have follow up on every workshop we have.
Yeah, you know, accountability. That's why accountability in itself can be powerful. Yeah. That's why even a bad coach can be better than no coach if he or she keeps to just asking questions.
Yeah, keeps to just
because there is the accountability part built into it, and that's very very crucial to have.
What's the like you talked about deservingness or whatever, but what's the most common things you work with clients on?
Well, that's actually a lot. It ends up being deservingness.
Really?
Because that's one of the things that if you have that, we can work on all the other levels.
But do you think people go around and think, oh, I don't deserve success?
No, they don't think it consciously.
They don't?
Not very often. It's on an unconscious level.
Okay.
You know, that's why I use a lot the energy testing, where you test the arm. If you're strong when you say certain statements. So, for example, I deserve to be successful. I deserve to make this amount of money, and you can actually test with people how much money they feel they deserve to make, which is very interesting. And you can see, I deserve to make $1 million. I deserve to make 100,000, etc. So you figure out where this, where the natural set point is.
Yeah.
And then you do stuff in order to raise that or to change that. And that's one of the things that's really, really. And in the beginning, I didn't take it as seriously as I do now. But then I realized that every time that something either didn't work or that the change wasn't lasting enough, it was because of, in many, many cases, because of deservingness issue or a safety issue or simply that the internal.
So you basically
trigger was too low.
You basically check out everyone's deservingness level in in every client you have, just to make sure that they're not
in
gonna...
almost every client,
Yeah.
you know, whenever it's possible or appropriate. I actually forgot it once a couple of months ago, and it's one of those things where I go now, okay, I learned my lesson. That's the fucking last time I do that, because you know that would have saved me for a lot of work down the line if I had done that in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very, very crucial.
That was huge for me, because you've been my mentor and in my advisory board and friend for a long time, and helped me with some challenges along the way, and that was huge for me. That, like, the moment you really feel what should I say, almost like free of your small thinking, it's the best moment ever. When you when you actually are like non-stop excited and looking forward to just growing with feeling that there's no boundaries, because for some reason, just like you talked about, probably deservingness and other stuff, for some reason it's scary to grow for some.
Oh yeah, that's what a lot of people have fear of.
Yeah,
you know, they're afraid
and
of growing.
When I got help to let that go from you, it was...
Yeah, I remember.
You know, it was like...
It was awesome.
The most freeing feeling ever.
Yeah, you sort of created the biggest conference in Northern Europe, for example.
Yeah, but exactly.
Yeah,
and
sort
that's
of small things like that.
But that's the power behind the, like, because what you do with people might seem like outside it might look very simple and very like, so what?
Yeah.
But when you're there, it's like it's a complete paradigm shift.
The same thing, you know, when I watch Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi play, it looks very simple, and I go, I might be able to do that. And then when I get to the field, it's like, not so much.
No, exactly.
But I mean, and it's one of those things. It's so hard to see yourself. You know, I've started to do the comparison. It's like finding a Navy SEAL or Chuck Norris in disguise in a jungle. It is possible, but the likelihood, not so good. Yeah, that's just to get people to laugh, hopefully.
But I can relate, because a lot of time I've been trying to. Well, I've learned a lot, so I can. I've become better at finding my own challenges within like growing, but still most of the times it just makes me more confused. I have to reach out to someone to like ping with.
Well, you have to. I mean, that's one of the mistakes that I also made, is that a point came where I went, oh, well, I know so much. I don't need a coach. I don't need to meet as often with my mentor or mentors.
Yeah.
And I got the results right away. That I started to slip a little bit and grew too comfortable as well. Yeah. And I missed some things that they saw when I came back. So it's so powerful to have someone who can, you know, guide you, mentor you, and especially, you know, if it's someone who can, you know, test these things whether they're there or not. You know, it can be a game changer. Yeah. Because all it takes is one limiting belief, and you just, it's like it's literally like running 100-meter dash with a parachute on. It's that profound. It's just a question of time. Even though that you can get spurts of success, and things will work out. You know, it's eventually your unconscious mind will drag you back down. You know, I know, because it's like it's got a hook on you, and you can swim all you want, but it's gonna get you back, man. Yeah, but that's a great metaphor of, you know, letting the parachute go and then running free. Yeah. You know? I also seen a lot of people, and I've worked with a lot of people who they have a challenge of, and this is something I have a challenge helping them with. They have a challenge, kind of like, I wouldn't say, almost like giving credits to themselves for the success they've achieved. Yeah, they will never let themselves off the hook, if you know what I mean. They will never say, you know, tap themselves on the shoulder. That's how we brought up, you know, both from parents. You know, I read the study years ago that just I was, what? that they had observed different families with children, and they basically had 2 clickers. One clicker for every time they said something positive to the kids, and one clicker from when they said something negative.
Okay.
And in the time frame where they said 8 positive things, they said 8 positive. They said 93 negative things. And then we get to school, and it's all our mistakes. You know, when we turn in a paper, it's all the mistakes that's underlined with red. You know, and and when we see the news, it's 90+% negative stuff. So we're getting bombarded with paying attention to the negative, and that's something we have to take control over. We have to take responsibility of turning that around and go, fuck that shit. You know, I need to celebrate my success. I need to milk it for everything it's worth, because it's worth a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to forget about it. So, and that's one of the exercises I love to give out, and people really love. They're just having sort of a victory journal, or I call it 101 victory list. You start by writing down 101 victories that you've had in your life, things that you're proud of, simply as a training mechanism for your mind to look for the positive things. And it literally has that's one of the newer things they've started to pop up the last years is the neuroplasticity, that you can actually change the hardwiring of the brain by doing things like that. So for example, writing down every day 3 things that you're grateful for will change your hardwiring of how positively you looked at things. If you do that, I think it's for 21 days.
What's that called? Hardwire? No,
it's called neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, you can look it up on Google, and it basically means that you can actually change hardwiring in the brain. You can change behavior, and most of the people who study it, they are sort of still a little bit of the old school, so they claim that it usually takes 21 days, and you've seen that it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the research that they're doing is fantastic. I don't think their tools are up to date with what's possible, but the research is fascinating. I mean, that's one of the things. I'm the kind of guy that goes, well, science. Yeah, right. What's so good about that?
But isn't that a challenge? Okay, I have 2 questions before you continue.
Okay.
The first one is, I just have to write down so I remember.
Okay.
The first one is, so what I can do with the people I work with who has challenges rewarding themselves for the good things they've done. It's basically start to reward, like super reward, over reward, like every small thing. Then.
Not over rewarding, because that sends a different signal to the brain. Okay. It's sort of like when you train a sea lion to jump up and do different tricks. They start by throwing them fish when they do something right.
Okay.
But if they do it every time, they get complacent, they get bored. Then that becomes a new comfort zone. Okay. So you cannot do it too much or all the time, at least.
Okay.
And you don't want to exaggerate. You just want to start changing the pattern and start having them look at the good things they've done, what was good about it, and then the question I like to ask is, well, if I could have done it 5% better or more, what would I need to add?
Okay.
So it's from a point of acknowledging you did something that was really good, and then there's continued growth after that.
Yeah.
So it's not beating yourself up about, well, you could have done it 5% better, stupid. Yeah, but I mean, it's like, well, she could have brought a friend over, so will you really?
Okay. So it's all about the pattern then, because that person then is in a pattern of or needs to start a new pattern of positive rewarding.
Yeah, it's a beginning at least, and we can guess how for how well that in of itself will work. We can't know for sure. What we do know is that it's going to be a great start, and it's going to make a difference. If it's a big enough difference, well, we'll see.
Cool. By the way, just before we continue, I just want to say to those of you following, if you have any questions, this is the time to ask it. Either on, I think there should be a social stream somewhere on. If you're on Newsstream, if you're on Facebook, just write in the comments, or Twitter, whatever. Then now is a good time to ask questions. And also,
I mean
Yeah. Also, we would love if you like this, if you like the podcast, and if you like this talk, then please share it. I ask too little for people to share. I'm gonna start asking.
Yeah, sharing
people
is caring. And
sharing is
actually,
caring.
going back to the thing about disturbingness issues, one of the things that I noticed is that the more you actually do or open up to helping other people, do stuff for other people,
Yeah.
is directly correlated to how much you feel you deserve. So I mean, and I'm obviously not saying that just to get people to share this into, but I mean, it's like, well, the small things also shows big things.
Yeah.
The really, and it's like small hinges can swing big doors.
Yeah.
So to speak. So don't underestimate the power of doing a little thing like that. You know, small things has their place. Because they're often a sign of something bigger.
Yeah, in every aspect of life, like every small act of kindness.
Yeah, for example, just in a relationship, I mean, you're sitting there with a gift that you got from from your girlfriend, and you gave her something today. And for example, with women, that's one of the things that a lot of small gifts, a lot of small compliments, a lot of small things where you show you're paying attention is worth much more than giving her a huge car even once a month.
Yeah.
I mean, by far, you will out something a guy who does that. So going back to the question,
I had another one.
I love questions, and that's one of the reasons why I love still working with clients, even though I don't have to. Is that challenges me, and that's also where I'm oftentimes creative and come up with new stuff. Is working with clients. Because a lot of people say, well, why do you still work with clients when you don't have to? It's not where you can make the most money. It's like, well, that's not the important part. The important part is for me that it's the journey, and it's the discovery of new things and coming up with new stuff, and that's what I do when I work with people.
Yeah, because your innovation, like constant innovation, doubles like the more you excels the more you work with clients instead of just
So yeah, bring it on.
Cool. The other question I had, you talked about science. Don't you like? What about backing your stuff up with science? Like to be the devil's advocate, you know? What about backing up your methods with science?
Well, there's a difference between backing it up with the scientific method and backing it up with results. Because the scientific method will always be behind of the forefront of whoever is creating results. Because you can create results before you can, come up with the right theory or even prove it. And also the thing, for example, with NLP, one of the definitions of NLP is that it's the structure of subjective experience, which means is that how we interact, how we perceive the world is totally different for all of us. So you cannot say to someone that, okay, now we're gonna test this NLP technique and have 100 different NLP practitioners or trainers do it, because they will have vastly different experiences and skill levels, and you will have someone like me. I would literally not be able to just quote unquote just do NLP because I have to mix it in with all the other stuff I know. Energy psychology or whatever. I would not be able to not do that. So there's so many of these things that just isn't possible to prove scientifically. But the interesting thing is that there is more and more. One of the interesting examples is with energy psychology, which is where you work with the meridian system primarily. Again, I like to work with other systems as well. But just working with pure energy psychology is that it's been studied a little bit, but the problem why that it hasn't been documented by science yet is that it's expensive. And the ones who usually provide the funds for research like that into anything that is done with people's problems is the pharmaceutical companies, because they have the money and they earn so much money when they can come up with a little pill that can sort of take care of some symptoms or what have you. So that's one of the reasons why that, for example, energy psychology hasn't been studied that well. And then what happened fairly recently is that as far as I know, and I heard this story, is that there was a CEO of an insurance company in the United States whose wife had a car accident, and she got some, I don't know if it was neck pain or whatever. And she tried different types of medications, and it didn't work. And then she got to someone who did use energy psychology, and she got rid of the pain. And then that guy, he went, well, wait a minute, we pay out a lot of disability pensions and money to people who have that kind of pain. So if we can prove that energy psychology works on that, we can save a lot of money. So he sponsored a study of pain reduction with energy psychology. So this is the first time it's been done that way. Now? And that's because someone figured out that they could earn money on it.
Yeah.
So that tells you a little bit about, you know, how much to trust science, is that you also have to see what were the intention behind the scientific studies, and who are funding it, and what answer are they going for. So there's so much of that stuff going on that is it's something that it bothers me when I study it, but I don't study it that much because I go, well, it's not going to affect my life, it's not going to affect my clients,
because the results and testimonials speak for itself.
I focus on what I can do and what I can help people with.
Because that's also another a very fascinating thing about your life and your story, is that you don't have a very strong presence online or in it seems like you didn't have to start marketing yourself just because of the word of mouth.
Yeah,
and I talked to you when you got here. I was like, so what have you been up to, like last? Because we have I have arranged seminars and stuff with you here, and then I know, okay, you get your living from there, and I know kind of have a sense of where you're getting your income from. But now it's like, okay, so what's up with you? What have you been doing the last 2 months? Not just clients, they come, they're clients, they come, and I was like, all right, where do they come from? Not the internet.
Well, it's actually a funny story, because that's how I got into marketing. Is that when I had finished all my training with Richard Bandler in '97, I figured, well, I am the best educated, I'm probably one of the best practitioners, and I'm also happens to be the youngest. So, you know, of course people are just going to come knocking at my door and ring all the time. Naturally. It didn't even occur to me that anything
funny how
like that
people think that
would happen. Yeah. And then I realized fairly quickly, well, that's not going to happen. And so then I started to actually advertise many years ago, before I had any real knowledge about marketing. And the thing that happened is that when I wrote about the results I got with people didn't believe it. Unless they knew someone I had helped, you know, their best friend, family member, co-worker, etc., who told, well, I experienced this working with Michael, and then okay, so and then those people would call, and someone of them would still be skeptical, but they went, oh, okay, well, I don't believe my friend is lying to me, so I'll give it a shot, and I think to this day, as far as I know, I was the first one, at least in Scandinavia, who offered a money back guarantee. So if people didn't get the results that we sort of agreed upon, you know, they would get their money back. And some people also thought, well, that's too good to be true. So the first many years, it was strictly
too good to be true, so people didn't.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they. Well, I don't know if they thought I was a quack or a fraud or anything, but they just didn't believe that they could do it.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So I figured, okay, I need to learn how to present myself and the value I have to offer, etc. So I started studying marketing back in around 2001, I think. Yeah. And got very interested in that too, because you know what marketing is, that it's psychology and it's math. And I love psychology, and when it's in terms of making money, I can manage math. I wasn't really thrilled with math in school, but when it's connected with psychology and making money, I'll live with it. And what I also discovered is that a lot of the principles discovered in marketing, I would apply them in seminars or, you know, in mindset wise. So that I would take a lot of things from one aspect and move it over to the other, and sort of back and forth, and that just reaffirmed my interest in marketing. and also especially now that, because a lot of people, not so much with marketing but more so with selling, they have negative associations.
Yeah.
When to a lot of people, if you talk about selling or being a salesperson, they see these, big Americans with hats in front of a used car salesman and lot, etc. And it's something they see it associated with, basically taking advantage of people.
Yeah.
And it's not, for me, marketing is helping people make the right decision that will make them grow.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is also fascinating in this day and age, is that with the social media and with knowledge being so freely available, and that knowledge can spread really, really fast, that it's more and more about being real and about delivering real results.
Yeah. You can't scam. Like you couldn't not be transparent in 2012.
And it's the first place where it really showed itself was in Hollywood. For example, social media and word of mouth changed Hollywood, because back in the 90s, if you had Julia Roberts or Brad Pitt in a movie, you would make the money back the first weekend, no matter how bad it was. But after Twitter came and Facebook, the word spread so fast that a movie can bomb the first weekend, because you have the first reviews Wednesday, Thursday it opens up for everybody, and by Friday everybody knows if it's a shit movie or not. So it has upped the ante in Hollywood, so to speak, and the same place in.
But that's good. That's good.
It's very good.
Because then the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And it also makes it so that people who really have the goods, they get what they deserve. They get the clients, and it's easier for clients to connect with the right type of whether it be mentor, advisor, teacher, etc., etc.
Or product.
Yeah, product. Yeah, a book or movie, what have you. So that's for me, that's fascinating, both being on the forefront of what's going on in the marketing world and in the personal development field. And then it's and I have to admit, that's one of that's one of the areas where I've had some mixed things going on unconsciously, in terms of getting out big time in the public, that I've simply had too much fun doing what I do and experiment, and I've had too much sort of this thing of well, I'm gonna take this even further.
Yeah, so I know.
Once I go big, then it's just gonna be boom, out of the water.
I can see it, because I know you now 3-4 years, and it's like, and then I thought you had plans to do that, and then I see you constantly developing your own methods and that is that's the number one thing for me. That is my drive, and it will always be my drive. Cool.
The money making part is secondary.
But I mean I know, but still there should be more people around the world being able to get your stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely, and there will be now. Because it's probably a too long of an explanation, but one of the things that I did recently, and I told you some of the things I work on now, is that it's really going for finding that one thing that will make the biggest possible change to your life or to your business or your professional life or whatever it is. The one thing that when you get that fixed or improved will automatically remove or eliminate or improve other areas. And for me, what I realized is that I have this long process, and it's what I'm going to present tomorrow at the free seminar we're doing. Is that you take all the obstacles. You first of all, you have the goal, and then you figure out what are all the obstacles, and then you sort of go as deep as possible, figuring out, well, what makes this obstacle possible, or why is that, and you really go as deep as possible. And what I found is that the one thing I needed to do is to create a big enough vision of more exactly where I wanted to go and why I wanted to do it. So I'd have to do some things with connecting up what it would mean. It would mean that I would have more time to develop stuff. It would mean that more people got the results that I could provide for them, and I'm one of the best at providing. And the results of that would be that I would also make a hell of a lot of more money. And then what's really, really important when you have to set a goal or a big enough vision, the trick is that setting that big vision, it has to be big enough that it's really motivating, and it also has to be precise enough and also some of the steps of getting there, so you believe it's possible. But it also has to be at a level where you're willing to sort of quote unquote pay the price that it will take to be there. So for example, I'm not willing to aim for having a company like Tony Robbins, where he's depending on being a certain place, a certain time of year, 300 days out of the year, or something like that, and have a huge responsibility for, you know, tons of different investments, tons of different workers, employees, partners, etc., and also a couple of other things I know about which I cannot talk about. But that's sort of besides the point. Is that the point is that you also need to be willing to pay the price that it takes. So, and I think for most of us, the window of where that vision or that goal needs to be is not that big. It's very easy to sort of go Tony Robbins style, and I want to conquer the universe, or I want to be a gazillionaire and have yachts and mountains and countries and islands, or do the other thing of, well, I'm gonna be content with my comfort zone, and I'll go for a nice job and a nice house, and that's not gonna work either, because that's just a slight extension of your comfort zone. That's not stepping into your growth zone. That's not stepping into who you can truly be, your ideal self. So that's one of the new things that I think that I've not maybe discovered, but really paying attention to now, is that finding where's the sweet spot of that big overall goal or vision. And for me, it's also a vision, because it's so much easier getting people to connect and be part of a vision than it is to be part of a company. And that's one of the things that I've sort of been dreading, is having to have employees. Because to me, that's a waste of my time. But if I have people, if I set a vision that's big enough, I will have people who wants to be part of that vision and who will be proactive.
Because people are contacting you all the time, trying to like get you out. Like I'm saying now, I know you have guys in America saying like, just say the word and I'll mail out to 100,000 people, like that, or even people here in Norway who has come to you and helped you, whatever, doing small jobs for you and stuff. You always attract people. I seen you attract tons of like valuable people, but I can see the thing that not having employees, that it will be like like a more of like a team player towards your vision kind of thing.
And that's what I realized for myself, is that was the number one thing that would automatically either fix or make some obstacles irrelevant. Was to find that exact sweet spot. And the epiphany and the sort of energy boost I got from doing that, and we're talking days since I did it. It was just amazing, and that led to me getting a new idea, you know, that I talked to you and Knut about yesterday, where you went, shit, and you know that's where I went when I got it. So it's funny how sometimes when you really get that thing sort of fixed or improved or whatever you want to call it, so much potential, so much energy will be released, and that's, you know, one of the things I ultimately love and you know, committed to helping people find and develop.
We have a question here.
Awesome. Cheers to that.
Cheers to the question. And I'm glad he asked it, or she, I don't know, because it only said Ustreamer 223041.
Hey, I know that guy.
I'm actually glad he asked, because I wanted to ask you that myself one time. He's writing, I would like to hear some thoughts on the very wide subject of the current education system from the both of you, and how it could be altered to better serve society, asking questions and such.
Oh, that's a great question.
I know.
If I had an answer like that, first of all, I would probably be widely ignored by the very people in charge. And second of all, no, that would be it. No, but I think that the solution is that you have to learn from private places, because it's almost the same thing. You know, you have to learn from private seminars, from private education places, because the ones who are funded by the governments, they have so many rules and they have so many steps in order to implement something new, that they will always be behind the sort of cutting edge.
Okay.
So again, maybe for that person or for other people in that situation who have to make a decision, is that either they have to sort of accept that as what it is, or they have to sort of adopt a little bit of a renegade mindset that, okay, I'm going to take it for what it is, simply for what it is, and what it isn't, and then themselves search for better answers while taking the education of whatever it is. And certainly there's huge difference between having, let's say that if you study to become a doctor, the quality of that is much higher than, is my personal opinion, than, for example, studying psychology, because psychology is just way behind of what's possible. If you study a doctor, there's still being done tons of research. Then we can talk about that, the quote-unquote alternative side of things can deliver results that are much better in many cases. I'm not saying that I would never get surgery or that I never use an aspirin, because I do, if that's necessary. So for me, it's about taking the best parts of both worlds, by far.
But how do you think how would you, if you were God?
If I were God,
how would you change? How would you better the educational system? Like,
I wouldn't, literally, because it's not worth my time. I know, and that answer might sound a little bit something, but my point is actually important, because I could spend a lot of my life and it would be worth it, trying to change, because if I succeeded, or if we succeeded, it would be a huge difference. But for me, I'd rather inspire the people who want to change it. So for example, when Knut a couple of years ago, he told me about his ambition to wanting to change the education system, I went, yes, that means that I don't have to do it. So that made me even more motivated to help him get as most out of his life and his resources as possible.
Because you know that he wants kind of way. But
it is a challenge. I'm not saying that it's not going to be possible down the line. I think the best solution is that and I don't know the background of the person asking that question. The best thing you can do is that you can get the best knowledge possible for whatever you're interested in. You can demonstrate what's possible. Because that I remember when I was at one of my first Richard Bandler seminars, his co-trainer John Lavelle, he had this great exercise that he called his $10,000 exercise, and he said that he claimed that he had got CEOs of companies to pay him $10,000 to show him this, because it was that profound. And what he did is that he had people take their fingers, and you can do it with me. Take your fingers like that and put them on the middle of your chin. And where's the actual middle of your chin? It's not here, it's down here. So you did what I did instead of what I actually said. So and that's, for example, in leadership, that's super powerful, because showing people notice what you do more than what you say. And the same thing with this. I think the most important thing, you said
while I took a sip.
The most important thing you can do is that you can be an example yourself, whether in this situation, or for example, someone I worked with recently is studying to become a doctor, and I told him, well, you're gonna meet a hell of a lot of resistance with the things that you're interested in and the things that I already have or will teach you, and you have to be ready to conquer that. You have to sort of make a plan of how to conquer that resistance, and then go do it. Then become an inspiration. Watch the Robin Williams movie Patch Adams, for example. That's a great example of someone who dares stepping outside the box and show what else is possible.
What movie?
Patch Adams with Robin Williams.
Okay,
great movie. And then. And also in terms of, because one of the other questions I get asked a lot in seminars is, what can I do to help my friends or my family change? And it's almost like, well, that's usually an uphill battle. And the best answer I can give people is that demonstrate yourself what's possible. Demonstrate what happens to you. So for example, when I helped you with some of your big changes 2 years ago, I bet that a couple of people got curious and went, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that's where you have the chance. If you go to people and say, hey, I was at this amazing seminar with Michael last night and I learned to get rid of everything and I feel so great, I believe in myself, I already start doing this and this and blah blah blah. Most people unfortunately are gonna go, oh yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when you show it, when you demonstrate the growth and the changes you've made or been through, and people come to you and go, hey, what's going on? That's where you really have the chance. And that's something you can control. You cannot control other people's actions, but when they, show interest, then you really, really have a chance to do it. So I have no idea if I gave anything useful for that answer, but that's my answer.
No, it is very useful. Like just like someone who have lost weight, for example, after they've, like, if they went to a seminar on how to lose weight and they came back and say, okay, now I know how to lose weight and I'm gonna do it. Yeah. It's more like, okay, cool, but after 6 months, if they actually have followed through and done it, and they now lost 30 kilos, that's when people are gonna ask.
Yeah.
Cool. For me, changing the educational system, it's more, I'm assuming that the guy asking or the girl asking is relating to our vision of changing the educational system, but our real vision is actually to create a, should I say, a consciousness change almost in the world, like that people become more, somehow help the world become more conscious of the stuff we're talking about, become more conscious of how to think bigger, like, because if people did, the educational system would naturally change, over time, that is, but still, so that's our real big vision. And how to do that? Well, where do we start? But I mean, doing what we do now, combined with marketing to reach out to as many people as possible. Just this podcast has an effect, Just this podcast has an effect of, now there is, let me see, there's 12, or my screen says is 12 current listeners.
Yeah.
Or there has been 27 listeners while we have talked. So that means that probably, let's say, at least 6 of them has gotten a new idea.
Yeah.
A new idea that is a drop in the water that will make the rings of water and affect the people around them. So,
well, there was one time where Bill Gates was sitting in his basement going, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it." And that could be today for some of the people listening. Or,
exactly. So I don't know the action steps to change the educational system or helping the world to become more conscious. I don't know the exact action steps, but I know that this is in, like, me and you talking here now, me blogging, us doing the free seminar tomorrow, all that is actions towards that vision. I know that.
Yeah.
Because I feel it,
Yeah. There's 2 things. First of all, just the last thing about that question is that I think the most important thing you do with the education system is put much more focus on learning how to learn than learning the exact content, because the content will change, like we talked about earlier, because things happen so fast. The second is that what you're doing, for example, is that you're actually doing something. You're testing the sort of boundaries of the mastermind principle with the passion immersion of what's possible. And that would be impossible not to be a factor of changing the educational system. Utilizing the
when
enormous
talking
power.
about factors, that's an absolute must. To me, the mastermind, that's a must. That's one of the factors. And just like you said, learning how to learn, and all the areas that all the areas that builds resources within people, that builds resourceful people, basically. Oh, I interrupted you.
Oh, well, I was just going to talk about the mastermind principle, because I think, that could easily be part of changing the educational system. Is that you create mastermind. One of the reasons why the mastermind works is that you're together with people who I mean, ideally, the way it's supposed to work is that all of them are sort of on the same page, in the sense that they work towards a bigger goal. It doesn't have to be the exact same goal, but they utilize the fact that 8 minds work better than one, or however many it is in the mastermind.
Yeah.
And also in the mastermind, ideally, there's also accountability built into it, that you don't want to disappoint the other ones, and ideally again that everybody in the group realizes and actually feels that one step ahead from one part of the mastermind increases everybody's resources, and it's good for everybody. That there's no jealousy within a mastermind group. Everybody is happy when someone scores a win or success somehow. So we could do a podcast on that by itself.
Yeah, we could.
The education system and the mastermind principle in of itself. Yeah.
What about just like passion immersion? That's the reason we have them live together, is because of the effect the mastermind has on the attendees or the students. It's ridiculous. Just look at how they're. Just look at just like you said when we talked about earlier, how when you free yourself from the boundaries, look at look at the passion immersion student Vegard, and how he's went from having all these limiting beliefs on how he was going to pursue his dream of becoming an artist. And then through this and through the work with his beliefs, and then now it's like, okay, this is scary and this is towards my vision. Naturally, this is something I have to do. And then taking action on doing it, and then being backed up by the entire group of friends that he built during and it's he's continuing just as hardcore now. It doesn't stop, because it's like you said, it's a lasting change when you actually the new ritual of the brain kind of works.
That's one of the advantages of the passion immersion, is that's not just, you don't have to remember 21 days in a row, because you have people who will remember it for you. Which is why I think the idea was so interesting. You
talked about earlier that you were gonna talk about something later, and I'm suspecting it's your upcoming. Can I talk about it?
Oh yeah, you can.
You are writing a book, no?
Yeah, and before I mentioned that, the thing I alluded to earlier was the thing about really getting the most out of your experiences, both the difficult one and sometimes especially the difficult ones, before you move on. That's sort of the speed of integration, of really getting everything out of those experiences before you move on, and actually utilize it to move on, because I've developed an extremely powerful process of how to do that, and what that also is an example of, for example with Vegard, is that he might not end up being the new John Mayer, for example. He might end up doing something totally different. He can be a CEO of a company or a coach or something completely different. But what the most important thing for him is that he learns as much as possible by doing what he's doing now. Because a lot of the things he's doing with writing, being creative, with performing, the skills there is something he can use in all other aspects. And we could tie that back into the educational system. And that's also one of the differences, because that's one of the things I talk a lot about when I teach business people or entrepreneurs, is that I think it's 80-something percent of millionaires have gone broke at some point before they finally succeed. And the difference between the ones who go broke and stay broke, or go broke and get a job and nice job security, and the ones who succeed afterwards, is that the ones who succeed afterwards, they learn a lot from their quote-unquote failure. And that quote-unquote failure and the learning it gave them was absolutely crucial. They wouldn't have been able to become ultimate successful without that learning. So that's a mindset that I really do everything I can to drill into people, is that it's so much about getting the most out of your experiences before you move on. And then I just happened to come up with a really, really, really powerful way of doing that, which, you know, we've seen at some of the seminars with some of the amazingly fast and profound changes. So that was the thing I wanted to talk about. But back to the other thing is, I've finally started to write my first book. I'm not sure if I should mention the working. I'm not going to mention the working title, but it's basically it's a collection of the things that I've observed and experienced myself, are the things that can really change people's lives on a personal level or on a business level. Okay. So that's the interesting thing, that all of them will be important or in both cases.
Okay.
And we already talked about some of them. For example, the thing when I talked about how I chose to invest and still continue to invest in my own education, that I don't see it as spending money on education. I see it as investing.
Okay.
And that's a critical mindset to have, or a mindset shift for some people, is to look for how you invest instead of spend.
Yeah.
And that's in terms of your money, in terms of for example, of education, of all kinds of other things, that if you have the mindset, how can I invest my money the best, then it will automatically give you better answers. And for example, I make the joke that if we go down to the store and if I go, okay, am I gonna invest my money in a 6-pack of Coca-Cola, or am I gonna spend my money? You know, if I spend my money, it's very, very easy. But if I go, am I going to invest my money? All of a sudden,
it's hard to buy some cola.
Yeah, because my blood sugar is gonna crash, and I have to sleep earlier perhaps, and I have to do that much more workout with the kettlebells in order to burn off the calories, etc. It just doesn't make sense.
No.
So the difference between the spending mindset and the investment mindset is huge. Yeah. And also in terms of your social life, if you think about how am I going to invest my time today instead of how am I going to spend my time today, how am I going to kill the time today, even worse, it will give you better answers automatically.
Yeah.
Because you're focusing your brain in a different way. Yeah, and you just got a small epiphany.
Yeah. Cool, I see it. Oh yeah. How am I gonna invest my day? That's gonna be added to my morning routine.
Yeah, and not only are you gonna spend your, you probably have to spend a little bit of time getting used to it, and then when you use the word invest, you're gonna pick better things to do. First of all, and a natural conclusion or as a result of it is that you're also gonna get more out of the time. So if you say, okay, I'm gonna invest the next 3 hours with my girlfriend watching a movie and maybe see what happens, you're also gonna get the best out of it. You're gonna enjoy it more, you're gonna relax more, because it's an investment you're doing. An investment presupposes that's gonna be a betterment, a good outcome, and in order to get that, well, you have to relax, because if you think about the meeting afterwards or whatever, it's not an investment, it's just trying to do two different things at the same time. It's not going to work, and It's not going to be an investment. So it kind of streamlines and forces your mind in a more positive direction using it that way. So that's just one example
of what you're going to write about in the book.
Yeah, well, that's a collection of those things that I've noticed makes the biggest difference, mindset shift wise. And then going to be examples of both how to use it in business or your job, professional career, and also on a personal level, personal development level. That's sort of the short.
And you have to write about the mastermind, right?
Yeah, the mastermind is
people are writing here. That's gold. Thanks. So simple but powerful.
Yeah.
I have to read it up. All right, continue.
Cool. No, yeah, just read it.
No, that's it. And also,
okay.
And another guy wrote, and think about it, Morten. What would the knowledge about these subjects and areas been without you starting to pursue your purpose? Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the I think you mean that. With the decision of me starting to pursue my purpose, I've learned all this stuff, I think.
Yeah, and then that's one of the things I've been looking for the last couple of years is what are the things that just on an insight level can make a change.
Yeah.
Which in a way seems ironic because I'm Mr. Quick Fix. When I work with people, create change, and still I like to challenge myself and go, well, if I couldn't do these things, how could I get the same results? And that's where I started to look for these things. Mindset shift.
That's a great question.
And the other cool thing is that it's also a way of getting people started. Because if I can give people a mindset shift like that, that's instantly valuable. They don't have to do anything. And I know, the people who are on here, they're the stars, they're the future stars, they're still watching. That's amazing. So I'm not talking about them because they have definitely the potential to success and they've taken action. But most people don't take action. No. So for me, it's a way for them to give them enough value to experience that, hey, wait a minute, something can be different. And just by thinking differently, they will do different things. And that can sort of put in a wedge that will make it impossible for them to go back to the old world or their old filters. So it's also a way for me to see how can I make the biggest amount of change on a bigger level by giving some of these things away to people and by having them experience that something is different. That's also my way of doing marketing, is that then I know the right type of people. They will go, wow, if he can give me small insights that makes this amount of change, imagine what I can do if I work with him one-on-one or go to a seminar or program, etc. etc. So it's a way for me also to demonstrate the way I think marketing should be done, which is by giving value, which is again the point of, when you give first, when you're willing to give first, that also opens up your own unconscious filters for what you feel you deserve back. Yeah, so that's
a new one for me.
Yeah.
Huh.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Very cool about the deservingness thing.
And then what I'm doing, because I might have just share this, is that because we started talking about the book and how it can be this huge thing, and I used to look at it like that, and then I've certainly had tendencies of perfectionism, and not so much perfectionism anymore, but wanting to do things as really, really good and on the best level possible. And then what I figured out that the best way of doing things is to share things quickly.
Yeah.
And then physically, actually, what I'm doing is that sometimes I'm transcribing my talks or my online modules in the program that I'm doing currently. And then I go back and I study it and I fill in things, and then I do the second version, which then is going to be not perfect,
so cool.
but pretty close to it.
That's
or close enough.
Yeah, close enough, exactly.
And that's the same thing I'm doing with the book, is that I'm presenting some of it tomorrow. I'm gonna do some free online trainings about the subject for the book. Then I force myself to actually do it, speed of implementation, and then I'm going to write it out myself, actually transcribe those free trainings, the online ones, and by doing that I'm going to have the sort of basis of the book. And then it's so much easier to go in and fill in the rest of it and sort of put things in the right place, and then it's easy, it's fun. Instead of sitting down and go, oh, I have to write a whole fucking book. Shit. And that's one, that's just one example with all kinds of different issues, challenges. There are ways of doing that, and that's what I love helping people with.
And that, like you said, the reason you're transcribing yourself is that you're writing down what you said, and you actually have to go through the whole thing again. Then you're gonna get more insights and learn more, get new ideas while you're writing, right? Yeah,
and the trick is I have to do it in order to get the full benefit of it.
Yeah.
And I know of no one of my colleagues, whether it's Tony Robbins or whoever, who does that themselves. They might get their speeches or their products transcribed, but it's by a guy in India for $10 an hour. And that's it's
a great idea.
It's a result of my own decision way back then, that the commitment of, or actually it's the decision that turned into a commitment, which is touching on something that we don't have time to go into, but it's very important that first you make the decision and then you turn it into a commitment. That's my commitment of excellence, is that I cannot just outsource it to a guy in India. I need to do it myself, because I need the integration myself. So I could save time, I could save money having someone else to do it, but I wouldn't get the mastery, and that's what I'm ultimately after.
I'm looking forward to the seminar tomorrow. God damn. And also looking forward to your book. and also the program. All right, I just need to. For those of you who want to come to the free seminar tomorrow, go in. Well, you'll find it on my blog.
Yeah.
Go into the blog, and the last post I wrote about it, and then just.
And maybe we'll do we might do something online as well at some point. So
yeah.
They'll find that on the blog as well.
Yeah.
If you're listening to it at a later point, this podcast.
I need to. Is it? Oh yeah, it's up. It's working. Wow, god damn.
And yeah, going back to the mastermind principle, that's another one of the things that utilizing that principle will automatically do good things to you.
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, in passion immersion, that's one of the biggest reason, or that we do it the way we do it, like that the students are living together for 4 months, constantly immersed in development, growth, and surrounding themselves with not only the people that are in their own, like in their boat. That's a saying in Norwegian, i samme båt, and but also surrounding themselves with us coaches and people like you that are a network. And at the summit, people like Sam, people like Rob, and people like, Steve Pavlina is coming and stuff like that. So they will I mean, there's it's almost like they be forced to grow. I mean, and you see that the people who have already applied for the for passion immersion have like they are kind of scared. It's a scary thing because it's a huge like, it's like you said, like a decision, like a huge fuck it decision.
Yeah.
But also they have committed, so they're scared, but they have never felt so alive. Now it's only a month left, and we have to open another place. We're gonna have 2 houses this year, at least, because I mean there's so many people applied. We had 20 or 22 interviews during the tour we had around Norway. So it's gonna be crazy this time, 2 houses, and then bringing in people and our network into those houses, and also having parties and stuff, and just building the social network around that. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, damn, I would have loved that 15 years ago.
Yeah.
having an opportunity like that. That's also part of something that satisfies me is that I can help people achieve some of the same results that I've achieved, or whatever kind of results they want, for much faster than I did.
Yeah.
Because that also makes me feel better about having wasted a lot of time. And I'm being harsh on myself.
Yeah.
But that feels really good, helping people to achieve things faster. And it also gives it's part of sort of my life purpose is helping people with some of the things that I've had to spend a lot of time discovering how to.
Yeah.
Because I have to, I've dealt with a lot of different both experiences and old issues, things from childhood and my upbringing, etc. And it feels really good that. And it's stuff that I had to come up with myself. I went to Tony Robbins, I went to Bandland, and a lot of it didn't work for specific things. So I had to force myself to figure out stuff that would work.
Yeah.
So it feels really, really good getting to a point where my quote unquote, I wouldn't say suffering, but that if
waste, or
and that will benefit other people, because then it makes sense.
Yeah,
then,
your 18 years of constant innovating, and
it means that those guys that I train will get to places faster, and I hope will become better than me at some point.
Yeah.
Good luck trying, but ultimately that's the biggest compliment of a great teacher, is that he will have students supersede him in certain areas.
That's why I call up you when I get stuck. You know what I mean? It's because
you won't have a chance.
No, but that's why I call up you, because I know that you have spent so much time and energy on this, that I know that you will have, that your view of that is valuable for me. Yeah. That I have less experience.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's been things that you and Knut have been thinking about for weeks, maybe months or days even, and
Yeah.
you call up and you
Yeah,
get
and
your
there's-
answer in 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah, the idea machine. We just call it idea.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we're stuck. We need to call Michael. You know, that's how it works. And also that's why I make sure that you also are invited to the Passion Immersion apartment every time we do it, and that you get to know the guys and they get to ask you questions and you get to help them and coach them whatever they need as well. So,
Yeah, that's fun for me, being part of helping steering that thing in the right direction, because that's something that first of all, it's something that no one has ever done before. So naturally it's the best, it's the best out there. Just by the fact that it's the only place that combines some things that are very powerful in itself.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it very interesting for me, being a part of making this something that can be built upon.
Yeah. All right, we need to soon break it up. I'm going to a pre-party and then going out. Cheers.
I thought this wasn't a pre-party.
It is kind of. For those of you, I just want to
actually,
say.
I just want to say one thing. How many people are still on?
Let me check.
Because I want to. Okay, I want to reward them. So I want to give them something. I want to help them. So I want to give them a short free session, 30-minute session.
Really?
Of
the 13 people are on now.
Yeah. The only
that's fucking amazing.
The only condition is that it has to be during the daytime.
Okay.
Because most of my clients are scheduled in the nighttime or evening. So it has to be during the daytime.
Cool, already cool.
So they can write me at just write to congruentman at gmail.com.
Nice, they're writing here. Congruentman@gmail.com. That's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Look at this. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
And that's another cool mindset to have, is that not only being open to helping people, but also reward people that takes action, that does something. Like the guys who are like currently on. So those of you who are listening now. And you have to write me tonight, because otherwise it can be people who watch
speed of implementation. You guys have listened to this. I need to understand this now. Or
if you're writing later, you have to come up with such good an excuse that I believe you.
Cool. There's also about there's someone wrote about investing. I picked up the mantra of investing only in what I need, not what I want. Smiley. Yeah,
it's interesting, because usually there's this saying in marketing that you need to give people what they want and then show them what they need. So in a sense, he's right on that. The even better thing of that is that you take, you have things that you really, really want, and you have things that you really, really need. And if you take the wanting and you connect that up with what you need, so the things you need, you really, really want. And that could be part of what I could help that guy with, is seeing the connection, so that the thing that he really, really needs, that he also has the want, because he has the connection. So it's integrating, it's congruent, that hey, this is something I need, and damn, I want it.
Cool. I'm writing.
And you can actually use NLP for that too, connecting those things up.
Hold on 2 seconds. All right, we need to stop this now, unfortunately. But I need to just go over a few things before we go offline again. That's to recap. Michael just said that he's giving the 13 current watching strategy session for free, right?
Yeah. 30 minutes.
That's so cool. 30 minutes. So write to him on congruentman@gmail.com. Congruentman@gmail.com. Another thing, as someone is asking here, when is it tomorrow? It's at 15 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be at a place called Nilsens Spiseri, which is pretty close to the central station. 15 o'clock, that's 3 o'clock. So if you're hungover, make sure you drink a lot of water before 3 o'clock.
Before you go to bed, actually.
Yeah. And the last thing about Passion Immersion, we are actually having to open another house, so there are still spots available in Passion Immersion for those of you who are really, really, really ready to step the fuck up in life and join the most intense coaching program there is at least in Norway, if not in the world. Like at least the intense one I've seen.
I haven't heard of anything
No,
that comes close. So.
that is basically all our resources, me and Knut's resources, put into one place. You get everything we have of products, of network, of time and energy. We're using we're committed to use all our time and energy on the people in that coaching program for the 4 months. So we basically adopt you when you if you get into this. So if you are interested in passion immersion, please write me on my Facebook or mail or whatever, and we'll set up an interview.
Just to show how much I value the power of the mastermind is that I paid around $20,000 to attend a 1 year mastermind.
Yeah,
which met 4 times a year.
Yeah, exactly.
For 8 days total.
Exactly, and this is every single day for 4 months. So.
Yeah. And it's not $20,000.
So it's cheaper, and I'm not gonna sit here and sell it because this is not a this is a podcast. But I mean, we have still open space. We're gonna have we have scheduled interviews. So if this is something that resonates, please do the fuck it decision and commit yourself to changing your life, because you only have one life. There's one gift, one life. You know.
We can talk about reincarnation next time.
There's someone who wrote, when will we get a feedback after the interviews? I don't know what you mean about that, but I love that you're writing and being interactive. Alright guys, just write to me on my Facebook and I'll answer you right. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Michael, for sharing so much value to us. And
thanks for having me.
Sure. All right. I think that's it.
And cheers. Let's have the last picture be with the beer can.
All right.
If that's what shows up at the
it is
thumbnail.
Let me show that. Heineken. Oh. Cheers. Snackers.